Welcome to my channel, and today I want to talk to you about something that is silently blocking millions of English learners without them even realizing it. Something that looks normal, but is actually the reason your speaking feels slow, heavy, and unnatural. And that thing is the habit of translating everything in your head. You know that exact moment when you want to speak English, and suddenly the words are there in your native language, but not in English. So your brain starts searching for translation like it is solving a puzzle under pressure. And by the time you find the sentence, the moment is already gone, or maybe you are listening to someone speaking English and they are going fast. You try to translate every single sentence in your mind, word by word, but your brain becomes overloaded, tired, and confused. And slowly you start losing the meaning, even though you actually know many of the words. It feels like trying to watch a movie with a weak internet connection where everything keeps buffering, stopping, and freezing, and you are left frustrated because you understand something, but not everything at the right time. This is not because your English is bad. And this is very important to understand. This is not a sign that you are weak or not intelligent. It is simply a habit that your brain created to protect you. Because right now, you have one strong language in your mind, your native language, and you are building a second one. So your brain naturally uses the first language as a bridge. It hears English, then quickly converts it into your native language, and then gives you meaning. And finally, you try to respond again by reversing the process. English word goes to native language and then comes back as speech. This is why everything feels slow and disconnected, like too many steps happening in a short moment. Listen carefully. English to native language, to meaning, to response, that is four steps. And when you are speaking in real life, there is no time for four steps. Conversation is fast, natural, and flowing. So the real goal of becoming fluent is not just learning more vocabulary or grammar rules. The real goal is to shorten this path inside your mind until it becomes simple. English directly connects to meaning, and meaning directly connects to response without any middle translation layer. And at first, this idea might sound difficult or even impossible because your brain has been using translation for years. But here's the truth: your brain is not fixed, it is flexible. It can rewire itself, it can build new connections, and it can even replace old habits with new ones if you train it correctly. Right now, your brain sees English words and automatically searches for native language equivalents like a habit machine working in the background. But imagine if instead of translation, your brain started connecting English words directly to images, feelings, and real situations. For example, when you hear the phrase, I am getting ready to go out, you do not see a sentence in your head translated into another language. Instead, you see a real scene: someone putting on shoes, picking up keys, checking the mirror, walking toward the door. That is direct understanding, no translation, just meaning. This is exactly how children learn languages. They do not translate because they do not have another language yet. They connect words directly to life experiences, actions, and emotions. And that is why their learning is fast and natural. Now, you might think, but I am not a child anymore. I already think in my native language. So, how can I change this? And the answer is simple but powerful. You do not erase your native language. You just stop using it as the middle step every single time. Instead, you start building direct English connections in your brain. And this is what we will focus on in this journey: not memorizing more words, but changing how your mind processes English. So, in the next part, we will go deeper into how this translation habit actually slows your brain down and why it feels so hard to break even when you understand the problem clearly. Now, let us go deeper into what is actually happening inside your mind when you keep translating. Because once you understand this clearly, you will start to see why your English feels slow and why speaking becomes stressful in real time. The truth is that translation is not just a harmless habit, it is a mental delay system. Every time you hear English, your brain is doing extra work. It first holds the English sentence, then it searches for meaning in your native language, Then it converts that meaning back into an idea you can understand, and only then does it allow you to respond. And this is exactly why you feel tired even when the sentence is simple, because your brain is doing unnecessary extra steps instead of building direct understanding. And over time, this creates a dependency where English never feels like a natural language. It always feels like a puzzle you must solve. This is why even students who know thousands of words still struggle to speak smoothly. They are not lacking knowledge, they are stuck in translation mode. And the first principle to break this is very simple but very powerful. You must start using more English to learn English, because if every new word you learn immediately goes through translation in your native language, then your brain builds a permanent bridge that says meaning exists only outside English. But if instead you start using pictures, examples, simple English explanations, and real situations, your brain begins to build meaning inside English itself. For example, if you learn a word like neighbor and you only memorize its translation in your language, your brain will always need that translation step. But if you instead picture two houses next to each other and the person living in the next house, and then you see a simple sentence like, my neighbor plays loud music at night, your brain connects the word neighbor directly to that real life image and situation. No translation is needed. It becomes a direct memory. And this is the key difference between slow English and natural English. Slow English is translation based, natural English is experience based. Another powerful method is learning in chunks instead of single words. Because your brain does not speak in isolated words, it speaks in ready made patterns. For example, instead of thinking about go, to, and gym separately, you should train your brain to store complete patterns like I am going to the gym, I am at the gym, I am coming back from the gym. When you repeat these full sentences in real or imagined situations, your brain starts storing them as one single unit, like a block. And blocks are much faster than building sentences from individual bricks every time you speak. This is why fluent speakers sound fast, not because they think harder, but because they do not build sentences from zero, they retrieve ready made chunks. And when you start practicing this, you will notice something important. Your speaking speed increases naturally without forcing it, because you are reducing mental construction time. Now, there is another important truth you must accept, and this is where many learners struggle emotionally. When you stop translating, you will feel slow at first. You will feel like your understanding has become weaker, and you may even think you are losing progress. But this is not true. What is actually happening is that your brain is breaking an old system and building a new one. And during this transition, the old system is no longer reliable, but the new system is not fully built yet. So there is a temporary feeling of confusion, like learning to ride a bike without training wheels. At first, it feels unstable, but that instability is part of learning balance. Translation is like those training wheels. It gives you comfort, but also limits your real speed. So when you remove it, your brain must learn to balance meaning directly. And this requires patience. You must allow yourself to not understand everything instantly. You must accept that sometimes you will only understand the general idea, and that is completely fine. Because fluency is not about understanding every single word, it is about understanding meaning quickly and responding naturally. So the goal is not perfection, the goal is flow. And once you shift your focus from perfect translation to smooth understanding, you will start noticing real improvement in your confidence and speed. And in the next part, we will continue building on this by exploring how to create direct English thinking patterns in your daily life using simple but powerful exercises that train your brain to stay inside English without switching back and forth constantly. Now, in this part, we are going to turn everything into practical training so your brain does not just understand the idea of stopping translation, but actually starts experiencing it in real life. Because knowledge alone is not enough. You need repetition, context, and small daily actions that slowly rewire how you think in English. And the first powerful practice is creating what I call pure English pockets in your day, meaning short time blocks where you stay only in English mode without constantly switching back to your native language. For example, while cooking, you can listen to a simple English podcast, or while walking, you can watch a short English video without subtitles, or even when you are alone, you can think in English for a few minutes. The important rule is during this time, you do not translate every word in your head. Instead, you try to catch the general meaning, even if it is only 70% clear, because your brain learns faster when it stays inside English flow instead of breaking it again and again into translation steps. And another extremely effective method is talking to yourself in English throughout the day. Yes, it may feel strange at first, but this is one of the fastest ways to build thinking fluency. You can simply narrate your actions like, I am washing the dishes, I am tired today, I need to send a message, I am going outside, I am hungry. What should I eat? At the beginning, you might still mentally translate these sentences, but after some repetition, your brain will start recognizing them as ready made patterns. And slowly, they will come automatically without translation. And this is the moment when English starts becoming internal instead of external. Another powerful exercise is English in, English out practice, where you listen to a very short audio or video, maybe 30 seconds or 1 minute, and then you pause and try to explain in simple English what you understood, not perfectly and not academically, just naturally, like he is talking about phones, or she is explaining cooking, or they are discussing travel. The purpose is not accuracy, but forcing your brain to process English using English instead of switching to your native language, because every time you explain in English, you are strengthening direct thinking pathways. And another method is what I call picture plus phrase training, where you connect simple daily actions with English sentences. For example, brushing your teeth becomes I am brushing my teeth. Opening the fridge becomes I am opening the fridge. Leaving the house becomes I am leaving the house. Checking your phone becomes I am checking my phone. Going to bed becomes I am going to bed now. And every time you perform these actions in real life, you repeat the sentence either in your mind or quietly. And this repetition links action directly with English expression, so you are not translating anymore. You are labeling reality in English. And over time, your brain starts triggering the English phrase automatically when the action happens. Another very important technique is delaying translation on purpose. Because most learners have a habit of instantly translating every unknown word, but instead you should train yourself to first guess, meaning from context, then create a simple English example in your mind. And only after that check translation if needed. This delay is extremely powerful because it forces your brain to stay inside English thinking for a few extra seconds instead of escaping immediately into your native language, and those few seconds are where real fluency growth happens. And if you can combine this with using a simple monolingual dictionary style thinking, where you understand words using easy English definitions like cheap means not expensive or noisy means making a lot of sound, then you are completely surrounding your brain with English connections instead of translation bridges. And there is also one more practice that accelerates everything, which is short self conversations in English, where you imagine small dialogues like, what am I going to do today? I should finish my work. Maybe I will go outside later, or even simple question answer patterns inside your mind. This builds internal communication speed because your brain learns to respond in English without waiting for translation support. And when you combine all of these practices together, something very important starts happening slowly. Your mind stops treating English as a subject you study and starts treating it as a space you live in. And this is the real turning point. Because as long as English is a subject you will always translate, but when it becomes a mental environment, you naturally start thinking inside it. And in the final part, we will focus on mindset shift and how to handle fear, mistakes, and discomfort so you can fully move from translation based thinking into natural English flow without hesitation or mental blocks. Now, in this final part, we are going to focus on something even more important than techniques. Because even if you know all the methods in the world, your mindset will decide whether you actually use them or not. And the biggest hidden barrier that keeps learners stuck in translation is not vocabulary or grammar, it is fear. The fear of making mistakes, the fear of sounding slow, and the fear of not being perfect. And this fear quietly pushes your brain back into translation mode because translation feels safe, it feels controlled, it feels like if you translate everything first, then nothing will go wrong. But the problem is that safety comes at the cost of fluency because real communication is not perfect, it is fast, messy, and flexible. So, if you want to stop translating, you must first accept that mistakes are not a problem, they are part of the process. Think about how a child learns to walk. They fall again and again, but they never say, I should stop walking until I am perfect. They simply keep moving, and slowly balance becomes natural. Your English journey works exactly the same way. Every mistake is not a failure, it is feedback. Every awkward sentence is not a weakness, it is training data for your brain. And once you truly accept this, you will notice a shift. Your mind becomes more willing to try English without overthinking. And this is where translation starts to lose its power over you. Another important mindset shift is understanding that you do not need to understand everything. Many learners get stuck because they try to translate every single word in a sentence, but natural speakers never process language like that. They focus on meaning, not structure. They catch the main idea and move forward, and you must train yourself to do the same. If you understand 70% of a sentence, that is enough. Your brain will fill the gaps with context over time. But if you stop at every word to translate, you break the flow and lose the meaning completely. So instead of aiming for full understanding, aim for smooth understanding, because fluency is not about knowing everything, it is about reacting quickly and naturally. Now, let us bring everything together in a simple mental shift. Right now, your brain has built a habit where English goes through your native language like a filter. English word enters, translation happens, meaning is understood, and response is created. But what you are trying to build is a direct path. English enters. Meaning is understood instantly. Response is created in English, no detour, no delay. And to build this, you do not need dramatic change. You only need consistent small actions. Listening to short English content without translating everything, repeating useful phrases in daily life, describing your actions in simple English, thinking in short sentences instead of full complex structures, and gradually reducing dependence on translation step by step, not overnight, but slowly and naturally. And over time, something interesting will happen without you forcing it. You will start noticing that some phrases come automatically. You will hear English and understand the idea without mentally converting it. You will start responding faster without long pauses. And sometimes you will even think in English without trying. This is the moment where English stops feeling like a subject and starts feeling like a mental space, a place where thoughts can exist naturally. And when you reach this stage, translation does not completely disappear, but it becomes a tool you use only when needed, not a habit you depend on. And that is the real goal, not perfection, not zero mistakes, but freedom inside communication. So remember this simple truth. Every time you choose English directly instead of translating, even for a small sentence, you are rewiring your brain. You are telling it that English is not something you convert, it is something you live. And little by little, this new pathway becomes stronger than the old one until one day you realize you are thinking, speaking, and understanding in English without effort. And that is when you know the journey has truly changed you. Thank you for staying through all parts of this journey. And now the next step is in your hands. Because understanding this is not enough, you must practice it in real life, sentence by sentence, moment by moment, until English becomes natural inside you.